Hello, everybody. I'm sorry, I apologize for the technical glitch there. Um, I think we're all there. And I had this whole monologue going on for the last 2 minutes where I was talking, I guess, into thin air. But welcome aboard. Apologize again for it, but welcome everyone. We've got a great panel in front of us to talk about innovations in the global electrified driverless bus kind of the future that we're embarking on, where we are all seem to be migrating from natural intelligence to artificial intelligence being driven us around. So it's great to be part of this panel. We've got starting off, we've got Lindy Norris, who's the director of marketing and public affairs for New Flyer and MCI. Great to have you here, Lindy. Then we've got Chris Stoddart, who's the president of NFI of the bus and coach business. And then following him is Marco Karenko, who's the Director of Business Development in Canada at Ricardo Rail. And finally, we've got Kurshad Yamak, who's the Business Development and Strategic Lead at Carsem. So, with municipalities across Canada and around the world launching pilot programs for electrified autonomous buses, we've got a great panel that is going to bring a wide range of expertise on pilots that are being implemented across the world and the learnings we've received from them, and a great opportunity for all of us to share. For anybody who's attending, if you feel that there are any questions you wish to ask, just put them into the chat, and our moderator group will be able to pick them up and add it onto, and we'll be able to ask the panels those questions. But I'm going to pass it over now to Lindy, who is representing the sponsor, which is New Flyer and MCI of this segment, to please take over and present a few words. Thank you, Lindy.
Thank you so much, Himanshu. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lindy Norris, and I proudly serve as the Director of Marketing and Public Affairs for NFI's North American bus and coach business, which includes New Flyer, MCI, Arbach, Alexander Dennis, and NFI Parts. Today, I join you from NFI's headquarters, which are located on Treaty 1 territory, the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, Lakota, and the Dene people, and the birthplace and homeland of the Métis Nation. Thank you, Q-Trick, for the opportunity to once again come together and to discuss cutting-edge EV and AV technologies that are creating more sustainable transit for Canadians. NFI is a leading global provider of mobility solutions and is one of the largest bus manufacturers in the world. Today, our team is comprised of more than 8,000 team members across 10 countries. And having launched North America's first heavy-duty automated transit bus just last year, our Excelsior Charge AV, we're especially proud to sponsor today's panel on the newest innovations in North American electrified autonomous buses, which will discuss an innovative future of automated mass mobility with zero emissions and cover the benefits of cleaner, safer, smarter automated transit. If you'd like to learn more on our AV, head to newflyer.com/AV. But in the meantime, please enjoy Kyra's brief update on the latest from NFI and our Vehicle Innovation Center.
New Flyer and MCI, part of NFI Group, one of the world's largest independent bus and coach manufacturers, and leaders of electrification and mass mobility, and a proud platinum sponsor of Q-Trick's second annual Zero Emission Bus Technologies and Transit Operations Conference. Across NFI, we're enabling the future of mobility unlike any other EV leader, powered by a team 8,000 strong, working across 9 countries to innovate and deliver scalable, equitable, smart mobility solutions through a 4-pillar approach. This includes electric vehicles, infrastructure, connected technology, and of course, workforce development. Workforce development and equitable access to participation in our industry remains a critical enabler to the new mobility era. And across NFI, we're working hard to deliver training, reskilling, and upskilling, not only to our own teams through over 150,000 hours of training each year, but also through the Vehicle Innovation Center. Since opening the VIC in 2017, we have delivered EV, AV, and infrastructure programming to over 5,000 industry leaders across 300 events to date, including our pivot to virtual learning mid-2020. Today, I'm here to tell you about our upcoming free virtual training sessions dedicated to workforce development and zero-emission adoption. Join us on May 5th and learn how to manage your fleet and get the most out of your zero-emission vehicles through NFI Connect. NFI Connect is an exclusive advanced telematics solution that gives you real-time oversight of your entire fleet, improving bus uptime and safety and lowering costs. NFI Connect is now better than ever. Discover newly enhanced, easy-to-use features and improved compatibility with nearly any vehicle in your fleet. And on June 23rd, we will host a session on how to create an unmatched accessibility experience for all passengers. NFI is your leader in accessibility. Learn more from New Flyer, the pioneer of the low-floor transit bus and creators of Smart Rider. From MCI, offering an innovative low-entry vestibule on commuter coaches. And from Arbach, providers of the most accessible bus in the industry, and more. Each of these 2-hour training sessions are packed with engaging presentations and discussions, and all attendees will have the opportunity to interact with our subject matter experts. To register for these training sessions, visit newflyer.com/VIC. On behalf of NFI and subsidiaries New Flyer, MCI, Arbach, Alexander Dennis, and NFI Parts, please enjoy the conference, and we hope to see you at one of our upcoming sessions.
Well, thank you so much, Lindy, for that introduction and for that the video. I'm now going to pass on to the first speaker on our panel, which is Chris Stoddart, who's the president, as we mentioned, of NFI's bus and coach business. So over to you, Chris. Look forward to your presentation.
Thank you. Well, hello and welcome. My name is Chris Stoddart, and I'm president of the North American bus and coach business for NFI Group, which includes New Flyer and MCI. Today, NFI provides 4 pillar mobility solutions, including buses and coaches, connected technology, infrastructure, and workforce development. Before I begin, I'd first like to thank Qtrek for welcoming us to the 2nd annual Zero Emission Bus Conference and for facilitating these important conversations. I'm pleased to be here and to spend time talking about the future of autonomous mass mobility with my fellow panelists. Next slide. As the description for the panel suggests, the future is bright with zero-emission autonomous vehicles. They reduce emissions, traffic congestion, and noise pollution while also improving safety. In May of 2019, we launched New Flyer's automated tech program, and just a few weeks after that, we announced our partnership with artificial intelligence and automation leader Robotic Research, and tasked ourselves with building an SAE Level 4 automated heavy-duty transit bus. Next slide. Our goal was to create a solution that made our industry safer. And in early 2021, we launched North America's first automated zero-emission transit bus, Excelsior Charge AV. The Excelsior AV is a Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE, standard J3016, Level 4 automated transit bus using advanced driver assistance systems technology built with our zero-emission battery electric charge propulsion. If you're not familiar, SAE Level 4 is defined as high automation, where the vehicle performs all driving tasks while actively monitoring the driving environment. And to achieve the Level 4 automation, the Excelsior AV incorporates a distinct combination of high-performing AV technologies and sensors, including LiDAR, radar, and cameras. It's important to remember that Excelsior AV is highly automated, and because federal regulations have not yet been developed for the deployment of Level 4 automated vehicles in public transit on shared roadways, this technology can only be deployed in very specific operational domains and transit applications, which normally includes dedicated BRT corridors. Next slide. There are several immediate benefits to the Excelsior AV. First and foremost, it's safer to operate and can significantly reduce collisions due to human error. This should decrease maintenance and repair costs while minimizing downtime needed to repair buses and infrastructure. In addition to providing enhanced situational awareness, the Excelsior AV systems reduce the risk of accidents caused by human factors such as driver distraction or fatigue. 94% of serious crashes are due to human error, according to NHTSA, and Level 4 ADAS technologies provide operation and monitoring that significantly reduce the risk of collision. Automation includes driver aids and warnings such as parking and docking assist, blind spot warning, side and rear, lane departure warning, collision warning, vehicle and pedestrian, and collision mitigation braking. Second, it improves accessibility with precision docking that minimizes platform gaps. Third, it can reduce traffic congestion, leveraging automation to smooth traffic flow while maintaining safe driving distances. And it enhances energy economy with optimal acceleration and regenerative braking applications. And finally, the Excelsior AV is smart city capable and is considered a key piece of an integrated mobility solution within any well-connected smart city. Next slide. To reiterate, since federal regulations have not yet been developed for level 4 automated vehicles on shared roadways, there are only certain applications for fully autonomous buses at the moment. But in about 10 to 15 years, we hope to see fully autonomous buses on public roads. However, before that day comes, there is much work to be done in our industry. As we begin to plan for the future, we cannot ignore the safety concerns and stigma surrounding autonomous buses, especially when they are referred to as driverless. Next page. I want to assure you that at current and in planning for the future, we anticipate automated buses having a bus attendant on board. This shift from operator to safety attendant keeps passenger safety top of mind and still allows for things like fare enforcement, among many other standard practices that we see with non-autonomous vehicles in transit. And this is why the education, advocacy, and deployment of AV technology has to be a collaborative and transparent process to ensure all stakeholders understand the technological nuances, benefits, and realities of AV deployment in public transit. As the advancement of autonomous mass mobility progresses, workforce development, continued planning, and equitable access to participation in our industry is of critical importance, which is why at NFI we're working hard to deliver training, reskilling, and upskilling, not only to our own teams through the 150,000 hours of training we do each year, but also through the Vehicle Innovation Center, or the VIC as we like to call it. Next slide. Over the past year, we have made significant changes to our programming at the VIC, and it has transformed into a center that is forward-thinking with a focus on vehicle innovation and providing extensive workforce development. To date, we've welcomed over 5,000 professionals through 300 events since opening in 2017, including throughout the pandemic when we pivoted to virtual learning. We're constantly exploring opportunities to support our new product development teams and to advance EV and AV technology to best support scalable deployment of smart, sustainable mobility in North America. And we're excited to continue incorporating the latest and greatest technology into the interactive exhibits at our VIC as we move closer to reopening. Next page. We know there is simply no zero mission deployment without the reskilling, upskilling, training, and development of workforce capabilities. And at NFI, we've had to make significant investments in personal protective equipment, tooling, battery manufacturing cells, commissioning bays, charging infrastructure, and hydrogen fueling capabilities despite the many challenges created by COVID. Next slide. So what do transit agencies need to do today to ready themselves for AV adoption while regulations catch up with the technology? We must work together to develop industry standards and support workforce development and training to allow an eventual widespread application of ADAS technologies so we can reap the benefits of significantly improved safety in public transit. And at New Flyer, we will continue to execute demonstration projects with our transit customers and partners to promote collaboration, mutual learning, and to build confidence in the technology in a wider variety of operating environments. Next slide. In summary, autonomous technology not only increases the safety of transit, but offers a real potential to improve traffic patterns and ease congestion. We truly believe New Flyer introduced the missing piece of a fully integrated smart mobility solution, with the Excelsior AV unlocking a new era of transportation as a service and creating a safer, cleaner, smarter, and more accessible solution for the public. I'd like to use the remainder of my time to show you the Excelsior AV in action. I don't know if the video is queued up here.
Thanks, Chris. I think we're just waiting to see if the video would be queued up. That would be really good good closing to it. But just while the video is being queued up, thank you for your presentation. And I think you have touched upon some very, very critical parts of it, as NFI is kind of embarking on this absolutely new dimension. It is not only the technology piece you have to solve, but it's also the education and all the associated parts to it, where not only are you creating technology, but the entire regulatory framework around the autonomous buses. I see I've got a link here, and I'll see if it can be played. Here we go. Thank you again to the New Flyer team. Having driven a Tesla for the last few years and seeing the autonomous drive, I see what great graphics you have incorporated into it. It's fantastic to see this new technology being adopted. So look forward to some more of the panel discussions on it. Next, I'd like to bring in our next panel speaker, which is Marco Karenko. He's is the head of business development in Canada at Ricardo Rail. So I'm going to pass it over to Marco to take over.
Thank you so much. Being on Cotrink's conference with my panelist here. Can you move up the presentation? Thank you so much. And here you see one of the very first autonomous bus on the magic carpet here. That's not only some decades, centuries, but I think more than 1,000 years ago when people thought about being autonomous on kind of bus. So first of all, I want to show a small video as well. If you can show it, please, while I am talking then. Perfect. Thanks. And the next slide, I thought I can press it by myself. Okay, thanks a lot. So I will talk about today autonomous bus shuttle development projects, but as well focusing in service operation, consideration of safety assessment, and finally certification process. So next slide. What we have just seen on the movie is the Phileas project in 1998. So that was a hybrid bus system with semi-automatic control, computer-controlled lateral tracking, fully automatic control of speed, parking, departure at bus stops. It's actually a SIL 4 level safety integrity level, which is the highest level that we do have in the rail business. Actually, a lot of components were taken from rail as well, specifically the certification process. Uh, Within rail, we have a long history in fully automated driverless solution with really rigid process on the safety aspect. So mainly the later Senelec processes were used in order to certify this project. That was done in the Netherlands and is still used on other projects. Next page. So one of the follow-up is more like a small, I wouldn't call it bus, it's more like a personal rapid transit system for like 6 people in Abu Dhabi. That was established in 2008, is another example for a fully autonomous system. As well as Chris mentioned, most of them are running, same as this one, in fully segregated roadway. So it's a controlled environment, much easier as well for the safety aspects in order to certify those systems. Typically, technology can do as well mixed traffic, and these days we will see as well in-service operation systems with SIL 4. So it's definitely coming, maybe more in other areas than North America, but there are some cities in Asia and Europe where they are starting in mixed traffic operation. Next page, please. A very famous project is at London Airport Heathrow. So since 2009, these small pods are running as well, fully autonomous, on-demand service systems, different technologies, how they run on these segregated guideways. This has more like an optical system, whereas the other one has both the LiDAR, the radar, and the sensor fusion, including some magnets embedded on the road. So this is slightly different, but as well, we learned a lot from the technology here. Specifically, we as Ricardo have done as well on this project, the hazard analysis, the risk assessment, the safety hazard log, and finally the certification of these systems. Next page, please. Another project in 2010 is on the Greater Cambridge Partnership, where there was a need for converting the mechanical steering towards an guided system. So this is a combined system where we will find in the future way more electronics. This still goes with mechanics. This is as well one of the solutions that is possible. Typically in the early days, we are using existing buses and converting them. So we were proud as well to be part of this project, mainly as well the safety aspects, how to certify those systems. Next page, please. Really exciting as well in Netherlands, the latest shuttle system that is for 14 people. This will be partially on mixed traffic as well. It's being implemented this year. It's at the Brussels airport, leading to the terminal from a parking spot. And this previous system we have seen as well in passenger operating transport in Rivium. So I'm not sure whether we can see the video that shall come now. Okay. And okay, so the very interesting point of this system is that it is fully driverless, so no attendants, no safety assistant or whatsoever on board. With the first system, 1999, the second generation, 2006, and we have now implemented last year the third generation, which is in mixed traffic. So really interesting project, and Ricardo has done here as well the safety analysis, the assessment, the independent safety assessment, and the certification. How does this work? Typically, we do a functional safety analysis with connected vehicles, whether it is within a central control unit, whether it is multiple cars communicating to each other, and assessing the design within principles, mainly out of the rail business, out of the Senelec process. As I mentioned, they have a rigid structure that gives a safety assurance with hazard analysis, and the hazard log leads to a risk assessment, and finally to classification in different safety and technical level, how to mitigate those. And with the technologies, you can mitigate those risks and make an overall assessment to have the full system then. I don't find my button to, here we go. Thank you. Another project is in 2016 for the system of EasyMile that was between Ede-Wageningen railway station and Wageningen University and Research Center. We have done the safety plan, the hazard identification sessions, review specification, gathering and writing safety evidence, performing FMEA, writing the safety case. These are typical parts like the chapters, how you perform a safety analysis, make sure that the system responds to it in the dedicated manner, and then it is typically fine to run and do the next test, verification and validation. So we have another approach as market trends goes as well within the sensor technologies to detect any objects moving or solid ones, which helps for risk mitigation, both either the fully automated system or the driver itself. Typically, on the one hand, it protects like outside passengers, cyclists, other cars, but as well the own asset. So avoiding any accidents helps as well a lot to reduce the cost for repair, for downtime. So we can use many of the ADIS functions just for the normal operation. And as well, I will speak tomorrow in another session about how the autonomous functions can be used in non-operational or non-passenger operational, but like for other functions already these days without any safety risk to passengers. Next page. And finally, the independent assurance is key to get a certification. So you need to pick an independent safety assured company who is allowed and can follow the standards, typically out of the ISO 26262 or the ISO 21434 or the mentioned Senelec processes, helps to have this complete assurance process with a competent system. You need a lot of client information, documentation, interviews, because it's always about operational aspects as well. Often the risk lies within these operational aspects. So you have your project teams, the standards. Out of this one, you can do your report and presentations for a fully independent assurance that the system runs in a safe way. And with this, I thank you, and we will have a lively discussion hopefully soon.
Thank you so much, Marco. It's a great presentation to show where we are coming from fantasy of the magic carpets to the reality of today of autonomous buses or ADS technologies have come from bringing that magic to reality. And I think you point out a really important factor that safety and certification are key in getting the confidence not only of the technology, but also of the people that are going to use that technology. It'll go a long way in kind of making this a reality from that fantasy that you brought in. So I'm going to bring in the next presenter, and it was the last person on our panel is Mr. Kushad Yamak. He's the business development and strategic lead at Carsem. So it's over to you, Kushad. Please take on.
Hello, everyone. And I guess my camera is a little bit problematic, but sorry about that. And I also first would like to thank you for this event. And it is great to be in a panel as a panelist in this great event. Thank you very much. And let me speak a little bit about our company. Carsem is a Turkish-based European company. Turkey-based European company, which are actually one of the market leaders with its own electric vehicles from 6 meter to 18 meter big buses. And currently we are the only company in Europe with this portfolio from 6 meter to 18 meter electric borne low floor vehicles. And Damera is our partner in North America and North American representative for the Karsan products. And I would like to mention about our deployments, about autonomous studies and technologies behind our vehicle. This is the vehicle. We deployed autonomous studies in Europe and also North America. And our vehicle is 8-meter vehicle. It's called E-Attack Autonomous, and it has BMW batteries. It has up to 300 kilometer range. So this is quite different than the small shuttles discussed in recent presentation, but and a little bit different from the big buses. It's a mid-size bus and has some advantages with its size. So let me start with how we have these autonomous deployments in different regions. We first have the photorealistic content for testing and AI training with normal driving with our sensor sets, and then collect all data and train our AI accordingly with this content. And Karsan is mainly the provider of the vehicle, and and we have a support from Adastech, Michigan-based company, for our software for the autonomous driving, and Karsan deployed vehicles with the support of Adastech software. And our software has also 3 different approaches, and we have FlowRide Drive. FlowRide AI is the main software and main part, and we have an automation stack, level 4 automation stack with FlowRide Drive, and also cloud services for data storage, data sharing, and Open API is available. And also for the management, remote management, commands, controls, and all the passenger applications, we have different apps for different use cases. So starting with the routes, and all routes has its own characteristics, and we have predetermined, pre-mapped routes with our sensor set and camera set, and simulate accordingly. And the routes could be mixed traffic conditions, and multiple stops are available. Our ODD includes lots of different domains, but I would like to mention about we can be full autonomous in the routes. Day and night working capabilities are available, and operation in rain and hazy conditions are available currently. And we are also studying on the very harsh weather conditions. I will explain a little bit about our deployments in next pages. And currently we are in 40 km/h, but we will reach gradually up to full speed with 70 km. And as mentioned in earlier presentations, currently there are safety drivers in the route due to regulations. But technically, we are studying also no safety driver in the routes. And we have central control and automated driving too. With central control, we have operation management, mission management, and data sharing as mentioned. And automated driving, we have again different domains like bus stop handling, intersection handling, traffic lights, crosswalk handling, precise localization, and also traffic participants handling. Our product has lots different LiDAR sensors, radars, and also GNSS, and also thermal cameras and RGB cameras too. So starting with the deployments, currently we have one in Michigan State University, and there are several robotaxis and shuttles get approval from NHTSA for the driving in mixed traffic or trials. But as a bus size, our vehicle in the Michigan State University is the first and only one get approval from the NHTSA in Michigan State University as mentioned. And we will have short video about this deployment. but this one is currently in the route in Michigan State University, and in short notice we will have also passengers on board in Michigan State University. It's a real-life pilot with the e-Attack autonomous full-size electric bus and level 4 automated bus, and we have automated shuttle service along the farm lane between Mount Top Road and the auditorium, which is a mixed traffic actually. And there are crucial use cases specific to public transportation, and there are also different studies like public acceptance from sociology department or different tests from the Michigan State University colleagues are happened in this deployment. So we are also another deployment with University of Michigan, but it is not currently in operation. And we have another ones in Europe. This is the first bus sold in Europe as an autonomous again. And this is actually one of the cases for the rural areas. It is near Bucharest, Romania. It is there are different use cases also in this road, like you can see dogs flying dogs in the roads, or someone just park without any rules, and it is also a very useful case for our technical studies. And one is in Norway, Stavanger, and this is also first bus in Europe, first automated bus in Europe, which will be used in city lines. Will be used in cities' main lines. So there are also different use cases like harsh weather conditions, and traffic and route management is also, we have different partners for this project for the first autonomous bus used in city traffic with passengers. And we have also one in France, which will be announced soon. Of course, there are some deployments in our country, one is in Presidential Palace, Turkey, and also one in Istanbul Technical University. Again, this is the similar case like Michigan State University, but it is closed campus compared to Michigan State. So thank you for watching, and we have short video. We can start with the video, but after 1 minute, we can close it. So thank you for watching, and as you can see, this is a mixed traffic conditions, and with different V2X and also 5G connections, and it makes our lives easier actually. So different projects will possible with this vehicle. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kashad, to share some of those real life mixed use or where there are different types of transportation that it's being used against. We were running short of time, but I do want to ask a follow-up question for each of the panelists there. I'm going to start with Chris first. Chris, and it's going to have a couple of points to it. And if you could address that, given the time constraints that we had, that would be great. And if anybody else feels strongly they wish to add to it, feel free to do so. But the question that I had was, you talked about, how the technology could reduce collisions and have safety benefits for is. I was just going to ask you, what would be the benefits of deploying this for a transit agency? That's one. And are there any routing limitations to consider when planning for electric autonomous buses? So what would be the benefits to transits, and what kind of limitations or planning do they need to do to implement this?
Yeah, the primary near-term benefit, because it's going to be 10 to 15 years in my mind until we really see this deployed at scale. But the near-term benefit is all about minimizing and reducing the number of incidents that occur where, a vehicle interacts with a pedestrian or a cyclist, and, left turns and right turns in 40-foot vehicles and 60-foot vehicles in busy cities with lots of pedestrians and cats and dogs and you name it is very challenging for a driver. And they do a phenomenal job when you think about it. But number one priority would be if we can deploy this technology still with drivers on board that assist in the ability of detecting that stuff, that's where safety is critical. And I think we can start to roll out the level, 2 and 3 technologies earlier than the next decade. And that would be kind of the first near-term benefit for our transit customers. When I think about, I'll say, the longer term approach over the next 10 or 15 years, it's just incredible to me to think, A, let's enhance safety, number one. B, our world in transit, which we all live in, depends on a future state of a very sustainable mobility ecosystem. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be multimodal. When people want to get from A to B, they're going to have to do so with whether they jump on a bus at first or end up in multi-modes. And you need autonomous technology to enable that. So when you can decrease traffic patterns and enhance the ability and the time to get people from A to B as quickly as possible and as safely as possible, that's critical. And kind of finally, I'd say the third benefit, all our future is going to be on zero emission buses. And when you have ADAS technologies that can optimize the driving behavior, how quickly you press down on the accelerator versus, your braking, you can probably have as much as 10, 12% efficiency. And if that's the difference between a bus going 300 miles or 330 miles a day, there's significant, I'll say, cost savings associated with that. And generally, from a sustainability perspective, really optimizing the energy we do have that's available.
Great. Thank you for that. And you're absolutely right. Like, some of the societal benefits of making transportation cheaper for all, safer for all, is what we see as the next steps around it. So with regards to that, I don't know if Marco is still available, but I did have a question for him. Marco, are you there, or I can move on?
I'm here, yes.
Okay, great, thanks. The question that I was what are the best ways to implement, like, what are the service factors or success factors that, the transits could see while implementing these technologies? And the other part too of that question was, autonomous vehicles are typically a concern to the public. How do we communicate safety and overall knowledge on autonomous buses to the public?
Yeah, great question. Thanks a lot. And Chris already touched on it a little bit. It's not about demonstrating technology. A city wants to have a pilot project just to show we are the best, we are the most advanced, we are an innovative city or whatsoever. It's really about setting the objectives. So what is let's say, mobility problem that a city, municipality wants to solve? Whether it is a specific need, do we want to have like on-demand service? Do we want to serve a specific area, so not a fixed route, for example? Do we want to reduce only accidents? Do we want to increase server level? With having these good objectives, typically to be discussed on a broad stakeholder analysis, I think we can lay out a good pilot project, which in my mind should already consider a full implementation. Even the pilot is the pre-stage, confirming the objectives in order to allow a real in-service operation systems. Otherwise, you always compromise on a pilot, and at the end it will be just a showcase. And I think we have had already enough showcases. I think it's really now time to get into real world problem solving systems. And this can be the key success factor. If you have your objectives on how you really want to implement things, make a stage process with pilot projects and demonstration, how to meet, how to test, and validate the system then.
Got it. Thank you. You're absolutely right. We need to go beyond these vanity projects saying, look, I did it, to an actual commercial rollout of these technologies, and a roadmap is key for it. So, Coach said that I had a question for you as well. You've kind of talked a fair amount of these different sort of pilots or demonstrations that you've kind of been involved with Michigan and in Europe and things, and Istanbul. So what are the lessons that have been learned from it? And also, because of these live examples that you shared, will autonomous buses be able to operate in mixed traffics?
Thank you, Himanshu. The greatest lesson, I guess, all the deployments has its own characteristics. Istanbul is a city with 16 million people, but there's also a need in small Norwegian town with the autonomous solutions. So not only the city size, rural areas, campuses, or closed areas, open mixed traffic, also the cultural differences are very creates lots of different requests for the customer requirements. So setting those targets and autonomous solutions should be part of not only the OEM's responsibility, but also the cities and also the legislation or the authorities' responsibility. So, and you cannot consider the deployments or the pilot projects or the projects in the future, which will be big size with the fleet buses, not considered without infrastructure. And V2X and 5G connection create lots of easiness for those deployments too. And for next part, of course, it will be more easier to have those products in rapid transit lines or BRT lines or bus rapid transit or the small towns, closed areas, but with those infrastructure updates and technology, we will see more and more autonomous buses on the public mixed traffic roads too. We can have it now, but again, it needs still some infrastructure needs.
Okay, thank you for that. Chris, there's a follow-up question, or there's a question from the audience, and I'm just going to pose it to you because it was towards you and the NFI group. But feel free, everybody else, if they wish to kind of pass on to it. And this will be the last question because we're coming up to the end of our time here. Chris, the question is NFI group involved in highway platooning of buses? And I think as a follow-on from our side was, what type of infrastructure is going to be required, and will there be dedicated lanes that we are expecting in the future around autonomous buses?
Yeah, platooning is something we've had a lot of conversation about with the technology that we are deploying on our level 4 automated bus. By default, you've already surpassed the technology that would be required for platooning. So I think it's really a case of, to be blunt, there's a lot of conversations in buses about, how cool it would be to have platooning. I'm not sure yet that, the business case is actually of substance to support it. But from a technology perspective, we will effectively have that technology now. And I think it's about trying to find the scenario that, being described, where does this make sense to deploy? And, you would have to set it up in an operational domain that lends itself to the appropriate levels of safety in order to try that. But, robotic researcher we've partnered with, they've been doing platooning type technology like literally for decades. So we're there technology wise. It's about finding we have the solution. We got to find the problem that it needs to be solved.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I can
Anybody
add
else
on
want to- please
this
go
one
ahead.
as well.
Yes, please.
So platooning typically started on trucks, on highway where you want to have a lot of vehicles running behind each other. Platooning is in principle V2V, but if you have a vehicle to a central control, it's basically nothing different than to multiple vehicles then at the end. So only the typical application for buses is really a BRT, so a segregated guideway where you want to have, bus after bus running really close in order, again, with meeting the objective of high capacity. So we are getting then closer to light rail vehicles capacity, probably not to metros, but you can just transport more. So if we have a mobility problem or question of high capacity, I think, platooning for buses can make sense. But for normal city buses, running, you don't really need it, right?
Got it. I don't know how I'm doing for time. I've got one conclusion remark, and I'm going to throw it out to the panel. One of the big concerns that everyone has at this point in time is around cybersecurity. And if you could just take like 30 seconds to kind of just each one of you maybe closing remark about how we're kind of going towards maintaining that cybersecurity environment in these, when we're talking about connected vehicles and 5G playing a part. Kushad, I'll start with you, and then Chris, and then Marco, you'll have the last word, and we'll conclude there, please.
So I can only say that it's a huge part of the development, and it creates lots of also, again, the new regulations for the cybersecurity and new development part also very critical. So not only for the autonomous driving, but also we have lots of applications and different on-demand services are also for these cybersecurity topics. So I can only say that it's a huge part of our development studies.
Thank you. Chris,
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, it's very, cybersecurity for any company is now migrating to the top of their risk profile, literally at any company globally, because it can bring you to your knees. So it's just interesting in our new product development. Never has IT been tied at the hip of new product development other than this current time frame, because it's very much important, particularly with over-the-air software updates and the ability to hack. So all I can say is the emerging standards, the conversations, the expectations from our customers, outbound regs. If companies have to have that same level, I'm confident we'll get there, but it'll be a perpetual journey that you're never there, because it will always have to be made better.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Marco, go ahead.
cybersecurity is actually part of the independent safety assurance. So typically, even you have your own network, Wi-Fi network, firewalls in place, and so on. It's critical first that you detect like any threats. Second, that you are aware of it, how to react with it, whether it's severe or not severe. And then finally, how to manage it, that you get rid of any kind of attacks or whatsoever. This must be part of the all operational aspects, whether it is, just from outside, but it can be as well internal. If you're allowed with an USB stick to download a new vehicle software version, this can have as well, some attacks embedded. So it's not only the network hardware, but as well how you run and operate the maintenance, the service level then there.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to conclude our session because we are out of time here. But on behalf of Qtrek and my company eCamion, we appreciate the opportunity to talk to this panel. I think with the huge amount of investment made by large groups like New Flyer and MCI, and some of these technology developments that are being done by emerging technologies and safety regulations, I think that day is not far when we will have, a fairly robust autonomous transit system, and we look forward to working with all of you on this great future ahead. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.